without further ado, Derek, take it away.
Hi everybody, thanks for joining us. It's nice for you all to take some time out and listen to me watering on with some poetry. So thanks for doing that. I'm going to read 2 or 3 pieces first of all, then we'll have the wee video, and then I'll read 2 or 3 pieces more. I think a lot of anyone who's familiar with my poetry will know it's kind of quite short. So I'll try and spin it out a bit and make it last a bit longer. So the first one I'm going to read is one of the early poems in the book. It's called New Month, and it goes like this. A new month brings new hope. Spring bulbs push through rich brown soil. Weather's gloomy, grey and stormy. Crocus, iris, snowdrops, they don't seem to care. Their vibrant colours blow through the grey clouds of my mind. That's the end of that one, sorry. So the next one I'm going to read, I wrote a few years back. Work was just absolutely manic, and I had a wee drive about and found myself at the side of a loch, and yeah, it was quite peaceful. So that this little one kind of popped into my head when I was there. It's called Be Calmed. Some minutes of peace I managed to steal, caught between my own heart's desires and the seemingly endless, relentless cycle of work. A few minutes of peace appear, like a soft and gentle lullaby, amidst a storm of chaos, sitting quietly beside the lochside, I steal a while. The next one is a summer poem. There's a lot of sleeping goes on in my poetry. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's trying to tell me something. Anyway, the next one is a summer piece. A day at the beach, effectively, and very warm, very humid. You know, that kind of heat that just makes you want to sleep and just drift off. One of those kind of days. So this one's called Serene, Gently Sleep. June seagrasses rustle softly and sweetly sing in my ear. Their gentle song caresses my weary soul, while soft sands fold around me, welcoming me into its open arms. The gentle breeze soothes my troubled brow. Under the sun, calming warmth passes into me. I drift slowly into sleep, deep, peaceful sleep. The final one I'm going to do in this first section is called Botanical, and it's about a castle in Scotland, which it's famous for one particular thing. I went there in the height of summer, and it was quite a magical experience, to be honest. And this little poem kind of popped into my head from that. Genius or fool? The thought crept into my head before I knew. The explosion of colour from the flowering borders dazzled in bright summer afternoon sun. Tall heads on elegant stalks weaving briskly in the freshening breeze, an infusion of sweet perfumes upon it. Their bright and sensuous seductive sway, all shapes, all sizes, all colours. Flower heads, seed heads, tufties, fauna, ripe and green and variegated. Genius or fool? The longest herbaceous border in the world is at Dirleton Castle. Genius, methinks, but I don't fancy the weeding. Thank you very much. That's the first 4 poems.
All right. I loved it. I don't know if you noticed, but I was applauding you, Derek. Very well done.
Thank you very much.
And I don't fancy the weeding anywhere, even in a tiny garden. All right, so now we have a glorious little video. So you've heard Derek has painted a verbal picture for you of the gorgeousness of his world in Scotland. He is also a fantastic photographer. So he's put together a little video for us so we can see visually what he's describing in words so well. So let me see if this is going to share correctly. Probably not. Wait, no, here we go, here we go. Yes. Are you seeing anything? No. You're not. You're not. Oh, come on now. Computer. All right, maybe Derek is going to share it because I have mine all ready to go. All
No
right.
pressure.
Right, exactly. No pressure, Derek. Get on it. All right, let me give you the host duties. Okay. My tech guy's crawling back in just in case. Here we go. I will unshare. Okay.
So while we're waiting for the tech wizardry to happen, I'll read another poem. So this one is called the Shandwick Pictish Stone. There's a little village in the north of Scotland called Shandwick. It is on the east coast and it looks over the Murray Firth. Quite a lot of Pictish stones in that neck of the woods. So this is a poem I wrote when I was there and just inspired by what happened on that particular day. Against summer's rich blue sky, the ancient Pictish stone stands true and fast, weather-worn and beaten. Encased in glass protection which only hints at the mystery of a past where, through glass crystal clear, the village below appears beneath the seas. Waves lap over roof and whitewashed walls clearly seen. Hollow steel columns stand sentinel-like, hold while encircling guide wires growl in the biting wind, like some ancient didgeridoo, ringing out faint majestic sounds. Nature's harmonics through man-made holes, an eerie scene, while the lapwing chatters and converses in the opposite grass field, bringing past and present together.
Perfect, Derek. And I think I have this sorted out now. Thank you to my tech support. Okay, let me see. Now it wants a password it didn't want before. Oh, computer.
They beckon me to make ends meet and share their world. I hear the crying words of close friends lost to life, but not this day, son or not. So the last one I'm going to read is a bit of fun, and I think it may well be my favourite poem in the book, actually, and I'll probably just take away somebody's question later. It's called Entomology, Lesson 1. It goes like this. Things with legs and things with wings, things that buzz and things with stings, things with stripes and things with spots. Some have antennae and some have not. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Derek. I'm fond of that one myself. All right, so before I ask Derek any questions, do we have any brave souls in the audience who have a question for him? Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to ask it personally. If you're feeling shy, you can put it in the chat. I see Veronica is waving her hand, so go for it.
No, wonderful, wonderful collection, Derek, and thank you for inviting me today. I just love it. And I just wanted to know, you mentioned earlier that you had written one of the poems a few years ago. So how did you go about assembling this collection, I guess? Some are new written pieces, I assume?
Yes, that's right. Poetry comes and goes, you know. Sometimes I write a lot, sometimes not so much. Just depends on the external factors as much as anything else. Mm-hmm. But I had poetry, and when I was sifting through it, it seemed to lend itself to a particular type of book. And with the lockdown, I was having that yearning that we all had to go places and do things, and so collecting the Natyre Boy poetry together and kind of compiling it and writing some new pieces to go in it just seemed to provide a bit of relief from the tensions we were all going through at that particular time, to be honest. So yeah, it's a collection of poetry that spans a number of years, and there are quite a few recent pieces in there. Yeah, so. No, thank you very much for your kind words. I really appreciate them. Thank you.
No, you're totally welcome. I just absolutely love this collection. So, and it was perfect timing, and especially for today too, first day of spring, right? So, what a way to start the season. So,
thank you very much. Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
All right. Do we have any other brave souls who want to ask a question? Any burning questions about poetry or Scotland or this collection in particular? Oh, we do have one in the chat here. Derek, great readings. I'm looking forward to reading through your book. What's your next project?
Well, thanks very much for the question. I am working on a third volume of poetry. So that's well underway. I think in reality I'll probably bit off more than I could chew trying to release 2 in 6 months, to be fair. So this one will be a little bit longer in the process. So that's the next one. Poetry wise, I have written a novel, first novel. Woohoo! So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with that. It started off as a splurge short story, about 35,000 words or so in 4 or 5 days, and it's just kind of grown into 51,000 words over a period. So that was quite exciting. That type of thing doesn't happen to me. I like my poetry, it's short and concise and gets done, and that's it, and move on to the next one, you know. So a longer term project is quite unusual for me, notwithstanding the non-fiction, of course. So yeah, that's the next one. The next one is the poetry, next poetry collection, and just see what happens with the novel in due course.
Excellent. I'm going to sneak in a question while everyone else is thinking of their pressing questions. So one that I wondered from the beginning, but didn't ask you because poetic license, you can do whatever you want. But why did you choose the unusual spelling for nature?
Well, it was a happen chance, to be honest. if anyone's got a QWERTY keyboard in front of them, if you have a look where the Y and the U are positioned. And I was playing about with fonts for the book, and I stumbled across a font, I think it's Gigi, I think it's called, has quite a rustic feel to it. And the spelling of Natyre Boy with the Y and the rustic type font really kind of struck a chord with me. The previous poetry book, Noir, was kind of quite dark, had a particular theme to it. And I wanted to try and get away from that for this book because it's so very different. And I wanted it to have a fun feel to it. And so I thought I'll keep the rustic tone. And obviously that's kind of helped with the author profile pic that I'm using now on Twitter that the lovely Jane Cornwall helped me with the wee Mad March hair over my shoulder. So I just wanted to try and keep the fun vibe going with it. And the misspelling, the rustic misspelling, rustic type spelling just seemed to fit very well, to be honest. But I've also learned in the years in music and recording studio that sometimes the best things actually happen by accident. You know, so if it feels right, just go with it, you know.
Oh yeah, I
I'll tell you
definitely
what,
loved it.
Microsoft Word doesn't like it because it keeps flashing up with a red line underneath it.
Yes, my documents do. Oh, that's awesome though. Okay, we got another question here in the chat from Chloe. What's your creative process like? Do you write when inspiration strikes or seek out inspiration? And also thank you for sharing your wonderful work.
Thank you very much, Chloe. Very kind of you, and thanks for the question. I'm very much a creative writer. It either happens for me or it doesn't, to be honest. I don't seek out inspiration. I do walk around with a notebook and pen or my mobile phone and dictate things into there when I remember. But more often than not, I'll just try and scribble into a pad. So for me, I've got about too many A6 notebooks about the house that I've taken over the years and journeys. But yeah, so I can't write to order. I'm not very good at that. I'm not skilled enough to do that. I write very spontaneously. That's my process. And granted, I will go back and look at what I've created, and as someone else who's on this conversation will tell you, there are particular times where I perhaps use the same words a bit too much in the same group of poems that are perhaps written in the same 2 or 3 hour session of writing half a dozen pieces of poetry. So there is a little bit of refinement going on, but effectively it is all spontaneous.
I think every writer has that issue. We all have our words that we go back to again and again and again, and you just need a friendly face to call you out every now and again. So I have another question for you. Did you write any of these poems while listening to music, or do you prefer to write in the quiet, or do you actually write these in nature? How did this happen?
I write them in nature. I write them when I'm out in my little A6 notebooks, or into the phone. It's just the feeling I get when I'm out and about in a particular thing. The Shandwick pictic stones are probably a classic example. That I was there, and I was walking around it, having a look at the stone, and you know, the wind was howling. There were these metal poles with the wires through just to stop people from getting too close to it, etc. And it just sounded like a didgeridoo. And the way the glass was configured round about the stone itself as protection against the weather, because it's top of a cliff on the North Sea, and the Moray Firth, and yeah, it was just the way the glass was configured. When you look through the glass, because of the reflective nature of it, and the village down below, it actually looked as if the sea was coming in on top of the villages. It was really quite strange, and that just triggered something in my brain, and I just kind of got the book out and started writing away. So yeah, that's it. And you know, as I was kind of finishing the kind of lines about the stone itself, and the acacia, the little lapwing in the field opposite started chirping away, so that got added in as well. So it's all very spontaneous, to be honest. I don't listen to music when I'm writing. the poetry anyway. I have done it from time to time, particularly with the non-fiction. I did quite a lot of listening there. But poetry, no, it just happens. You know, I'm not really listening to anything. I'm out and about doing things or seeing things. The same with noir, the noir poetry. That was all to do with things I've experienced or witnessed or nuanced observation, that type of thing. So it's all very from within, observationally, and what I'm feeling at the time.
That's fantastic. All right, does anybody else out there have any questions yet? Not feeling it? All right, I have another question for you, Derek.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite poet other than yourself?
Well, I'm not one of my favourite poets, I would have to say. That's quite difficult because it really depends on the mood, you know. I'm a fan of Sylvia Plath. I'm a fan of John Keats. I like Robert Burns, and that's not something that's built into your DNA if you're Scottish. You either like it or not. He's a great social commentator, and some of his poems are set in nature. I mean, he's effectively the ploughman turned poet. So yeah, I like a variety of poetry. You know, I like Roger McGough as well, and many folks in the writing community on Twitter, you know, as well. David Middleton, Satsky as well. So and Lally, of course. So there are many poets around whose books I've not yet gone to, but I do enjoy my poetry. I usually have about maybe 4 or 5 poetry books on the go at the one time, just dipping in and out of them. I never seem to get finished. I'm always just keep going back to them, you know. I've had Shell's Zany's book now for about 3 years, and it's still sitting on my desk. You know, I just go and pick it up. You know, so yeah, I like having different poetry books. All have different feelings, different vibes to them. You know, so it's good to mix it up a wee bit. It just depending on how you're feeling on any particular day. So yeah. True.
All right. Now I know the event is set until 1:30 and it's 1:34, but I do have one more question. If anybody's pressed for time, you can drop out. Thank you so much for joining us, but I do have one more question for you, Derek. On the theme of nature, and since it is the first day of spring, what is the most beautiful natural place you personally have ever been to?
I think it would have to be Skye. It is such a place of contradictions. It's just, it goes from flat moorland, effectively at the bottom of the island. Then about midway, you have the Cuillin range, the red Cuillin, which are rounded mountains. And you have the black Cuillin, which kind of look like somebody's just opened up a Swiss Army knife. It's jagged and pointy, and it's just immense. And then you pass beyond that, and it's sea cliffs. It's just so many different aspects of scenery within the one place, you know. And it's the only place I've actually seen sea-facing cliff waterfalls being blown back up onto the land by the strength of the wind from the Atlantic.
Oh my gosh.
There's one of the slides in that, one of the slides in the little video showed that. It's quite a grainy photograph because the wind was absolutely howling, but it's such a place of contradictions. It's mind-boggling. And I was lucky enough to spend quite a bit of time there when I was on the construction project, so I was able to kind of tour about during the weekends, which I would never normally have done. It's about a 5-hour drive from home, taking the appropriate speeds. Do it a bit faster, you know, but yeah. So it's fantastic, and it's a very craft community at the north of the island. You know, artists and writers and felt makers and weavers. It's a fantastic place.
And we have another question that came in from Chloe. Have you always written poetry? What inspired you to start?
I've been writing poetry since I was in my teens. The first ones were destroyed many years ago because they were rubbish, basically. So they will never see the light of day. I can't even remember what they were. I guess my first love was always music, and I kind of got into poetry through the lyrics of through music. I played, some folks will know, I played in a band for a while, and I wrote the lyrics and came up with the guitar riffs kind of thing. So it's really been a lyric driven thing, and I think sometimes that shows through in the way I set some of the poems out, because I'm thinking about how it would be delivered if it was sung. So that's why you sometimes see a single word on a line for 2 or 3 lines. It is to create that sort of dynamic you would perhaps have in music if someone was singing, the kind of stop, start type thing, as opposed to all the words on spread over 2 or 3 rows. So I'm very kind of conscious about that when I write. So as I say, it's really been through the kind of lyrical side and the music that kind of drew me into it. What sort of stuff? Gosh, mixed and varied, to be honest. Probably, try not to laugh, probably things like The Who, Pete Townshend's lyrics, Jim Morrison, The Doors. What else? Yeah, 1970s Alice Cooper. Fantastic sense of humour in some of the songs. The song about going to the dentist, for example, that's called Unfinished Sweet. It's on an album called $1 Billion Babies, same album that Elected's on. So yeah, great kind of humour, great lyrics, different dynamics, obviously. Even within that group, there are some very serious lyricists and covering serious topics, some more fantastical aspects, and some, obviously kind of caught a little bit of controversy as well along the way. But yeah, it's all that stuff. It's all good. I just like it. Just love my music, to be honest. That's really what it boils down to. Does that answer the question, Chloe? Yeah.
It does. Thank you.
Good. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. All right, it is now 1:39. I'm sure Derek can talk about his awesome poetry all day long. I could listen to him talk about it all day long. But it is the first day of spring. Hopefully it's at least sunny where everybody is. May not be warm, like Michigan here, not particularly warm, but yes, sunny. So do we have any further questions for Derek before we all turn ourselves loose into the world? I should probably mention that, I can put a link in the chat too. All of Derek's books are available on Amazon. So Natyre Boy is the one we're celebrating today, which is lovely nature poems. Noir came before last October, completely different from nature poems. So Natyre Boy will make you happy and fill you with light, and Noir is dark and gritty, but not in a nasty way. It's like, it's not going to disturb you deeply. I don't think so anyway, and I'm easily disturbed by things. But I just loved it. It's very creative. It's more like gothic. So Poe, I'm all about Poe. There's a lot of parallels I see between Noir and Poe. And I'm not the only one that said that. I've seen that pop up in Goodreads reviews that it reminds people of Poe. So that's a fun one to check out. And there's also The Life and Times of Clyde Kennard, which is, I think, should be required reading for all Americans, about the civil rights struggle in the US. And poor Clyde Kennard, who just wanted to go to college, and the ridiculous obstacles he had to face trying to get to college just to get an education. Wow, what a book. Like, it's one of those books that I just wanted to close and throw across the room so many times. Not because it was poorly written, but because I couldn't stand, what was happening. And I don't feel like it's really handled very well in American education system. So I learned a lot through Derek's book. And I also, since, I'm here, I'm on microphone, I think it's very interesting to see the perspective of a Scotsman on what went on in US history, because it doesn't have the implicit biases that we have. You know, we live here, we all know you grow up with an inherent feeling of how civil rights is told and whose side you're supposed to be on and what gets told and what doesn't. So to see it from an outside perspective without somebody accidentally pushing their American bias was very interesting, very enlightening book. So thank you for writing that too, Derek.
Thank you. It was
Yeah.
a long time in the making.
Yes, yeah, he researched that book for 10 years, at least, possibly more. So yeah, that's my endorsement for that. And I didn't publish that one. That's not an 8N title, and I love it that much that I still think you should all go out and look for that. But yeah, everything by Derek is available on Amazon in print and ebook. So you can search Amazon for Derek R. King and you will find it all. So I guess that's all from me. If anybody else wants to sneak in any other questions or comments, feel free. Otherwise, Derek, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you want to, if you have any closing remarks, now is your moment.
I'd just like to thank everyone for taking time out of your busy day to listen to me try and read my poetry well. A few stumbles along the way, apologies for that, but hopefully it didn't spoil your enjoyment too much. And yeah, I hope you have a great weekend.
No, congratulations. Really, really well done.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I hope you'll check out his books and I hope you had an excellent time with us today. I had a great time. I'm sure hopefully Derek did too. And I see clapping, I see smiling faces. So I think the goal is achieved, Derek. Very well done. Congratulations on your new book.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day.